Dave, thank you so much for joining us. It would be great to start off by you just telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I am retired officially, but I've kept my hand in kind of my interest in media since the mid-80s. My professional media background began then as a video producer and director.
BrandB Radio, when did
Yeah.
that come into play? And describe to us exactly what it is as well. I think that would be useful to know.
Okay, well, Brand B came into play because since my involvement with media production, I got involved with community activism. Um, I became a community development worker. Um, and I became an environmental activist in Brighton. Basically, I joined Brighton Hove Friends of the Earth group. That was really interesting, and I learned more about the environment and the facts and the figures and the trends and the problems, um, and where those problems lie. Then I kind of carried that on until about 3 or 4 years ago, when the idea of BrandB Radio came to me. Almost literally 2 o'clock in the morning. I sort of sat up, bolt upright, and realised that I'd been for so long as chair of Brighton and Hove Friends of the Earth, been delving into loads of information, webinars, podcasts, newspaper articles, of course, blogs, blah, blah, blah. I just suddenly realized, wow, there's so much amazingly good news about the green transition that's not getting out there. There's loads of content, as it were, from a radio point of view, already produced and in marvelous organizations, libraries and things. Um, And I put that together with my love of music, which I've had since a teenager. Um, Never a musician, but just love music. And I suddenly thought, wow, this that might work. An uplifting green radio station with banging music, a mashup between Radio 4 and Radio 6.
Perfect. Love that. No, that's amazing. It's a real, it's so good to hear about the kind of amalgamation of lots of your passions coming through in this expression of media. And I think that is something that the young people watching really need to know is that, your career path can be, meandering, and then you can really settle on something that is a true passion. And I guess the communication of that can be in a media format. It doesn't have to be like you work at the BBC being a radio presenter. It can be a lot more personal than that. Tell us about how you got the foot in the door of media.
This takes me back to my school days. So I was a sportsman, quite a sportsman at school. Um, but I had three different secondary schools, which I would say hampered my academic progress. In a way, I failed my A levels, which, is disappointing for anybody. I didn't get to university. And so, but I did, I think, made the most of what I had, which was a couple of poor A level, I mean, a couple of poor A levels. Started studying business. I did an HND sandwich course. I think they still exist in some form now, and joined a very large, globally significant company called ICI. Now, I stayed there until I was 25. There was a couple of things niggling away at me. A, I hadn't been to university and tested, what I was capable of. B, I just couldn't stand, no matter how much I was paid, being a small cog in a large wheel. Really disinterested in how the company made its money. So I acted upon my instinct and I kind of resigned once I knew that I'd had a successful application to Sussex University, and I was able to develop that kind of nascent career in the media. So the story from my education to getting a foot in the door is, I suppose, the next stage. So at the age of 25, I started at Sussex, read English. I was 28 when I graduated, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't, people talked about teaching and things. I didn't want to be a teacher. So I kind of hung around a bit doing some odd jobs. That lasted for about a year, and I was signing on. And I don't know how many viewers will be familiar with the name Margaret Thatcher. Certainly, political historians will. She's a prime minister who divided opinion a lot. Um, and I wasn't her, suffice to say, greatest fan. But she did do one thing that was my foot in the door. Margaret Thatcher started a scheme. It was for people, younger people who'd been on the dole for over 6 months. Brighton Hove Museum and Art Gallery, they were part of the scheme. They put in a bid to employ a small team of young creative people. There was about six of us, and I was taken on as a writer researcher. It lasted for a year. It was a fixed contract for a year. That's when I got some training, which was paid for by that scheme. And I spent mine basically on learning how to make videos. And I made, in the end, my first video for Brighton and Hove Museum. So that was fun. In a way, I just thought, right, I'm trained enough. I've got a bit of experience. I'm going to get some business cards printed saying that I'm a video producer. And I started handing them out. I had access to equipment via an educational establishment down here in Brighton. Eventually, I ended up being a tutor at Northbrook College in Worthing. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed teaching media studies and video production for about 6 or 7 years. And then the digital revolution hit, and I was no longer able to demonstrate the new skills and editing processes.
So because we've got very limited time left, tell me, what is your best advice for young people who might basically want to kind of follow in your footsteps?
I would say don't be in a rush. You've got time on your side, but also make use of your youth because you are a sponge. You are taking in so much stuff. Um, and your youth will help you to be a quick learner. And you have to be quite a quick learner in the media business. You know, there's equipment, techniques, software, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, don't rush. Don't be worried if nothing happens in a way for a while, but just keep learning, keep asking questions, um, and keep asking questions until you understand the answer. Be persistent without being annoying. Um, I think one thing that I've learned is a really simple little life hack. If you're thinking about a career in the creative industries, you're almost bound to become a freelancer at some stage. So, knowing what I know now, I would recommend you all and each open up a business account.
Hmm.
Get used to how that works, what possibilities it opens up. You're starting to keep books, even though it's humble, income, part-time work. There are other spin-off advantages to starting that earlier business account. Um, yeah, that thing about learning, take every opportunity for both like informal and formal personal development. Um, Almost like besides your professional ambitions and necessities. Think about who you are yourself and expand your experiences. I 20 years ago Um, Took some very, very powerful personal development support, coaching, and it was by by an organization called Landmark, and it changed my life. I took a number of courses, and I'm sure that that really powerful personal development that I took on has helped and affected how has affected and helped how BrandB has developed. And BrandB is an it's a startup internet radio station. Um, and we're really keen to represent the voices of young people um, in the within the issue of in the environment and biodiversity crisis. But we're also really keen to collaborate, employ even young people who have a desire to put their creative skills together with us.
Okay, well, that was going to be my final question, which is there anything that you want to share with the young people that might be useful, resources, a call out? But I feel like you've just done that. So,
In a way, maybe. Oh, the one thing because of course we've made a couple of notes, but learn to work as part of a team as soon as possible.
Mm,
Um, the creative industry is all about teamwork. I mean, you can start off as an individual, of course, with all the modern equipment. There's an explosion of what you can do creatively as an individual. But I would, encourage you to learn to work as part of a team and start to, within that team, take on small responsibilities and be a little bit of a leader in some places and practice your creativity, volunteer. Volunteering is a super way to get yourself known and your abilities known and your potential recognized in the end.
amazing. Thank you so much, Dave. I feel like that was jam-packed with so many interesting stories, so much good advice. There's so much for the young people to take away. Your resources or your website, Brand B Radio, will be on the free resources pack that we're sending to schools. So if they do want to get in touch, they will definitely know how to. Thank
Great.
you so much for your time. Really appreciate that.
It's been a pleasure.